You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode. Good morning and welcome to Power Talk. I'm Mike Aponte, the communications specialist here at Berkeley Electric Cooperative, joined as always by Libby Roig, the Director of Marketing and Communications.
Good morning, Micah.
Good morning, and we have a full studio today with some familiar faces. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back.
Have
Glad to be back.
First talking there was Mr. Eddie Plowden, our Director of Energy Services, and we also have Mr. Tim Swicord, the Manager of Energy Services. Like I said, we've got some experience here in the studio today. Both of these gentlemen have joined us on a variety of topics before, but for the folks who might be a first-time watcher and or listener of our show, could you give our listeners a little bit of a refresher on what you do here at the co-op, what your position is, and what it entails? Eddie, you first.
Okay, Micah. Director of Energy Services, basically leading the best team in the country on helping our members understand
Hear, hear.
Their energy use. I mean, if members have the questions like EVs or high bills, we're the team that can help them with answering a question and help them lower their power use. So we're an advocate for the member.
And increase the comfort of their home.
Yes, yeah, and lower your bill. So. And finance that too.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah.
And then we're going to throw it over to Mr. Tim. Tim, tell our folks what you do here at the co-op.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I manage the day-to-day programs, water heater programs, surge guard, that type thing. I also do energy audits for commercial members. I do rate reviews for our commercial and industrial members. Do home visits sometimes to do energy audits, and I do all the solar evaluations are the good part of that, and most of the time of use rate evaluations for our members.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that style of rate later in the show. But busy guy.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's busy here, but no more than Mr. Eddie Plowden.
Yeah, Eddie, you are the ringleader of our circus of energy experts.
Circus, okay. Starting out Saturday morning with a circus.
Yeah. Well,
Let's bring in the clowns. Where's Josh?
I would say strong men and women, maybe. That could be our circus. But anyway, since Berkeley Electric is a not-for-profit utility, we offer a range of services, as Eddie mentioned, to help our members manage their energy use. From our smart thermostat program to energy audits, like Tim mentioned, and on-bill financing for energy efficiency upgrades. So in honor of National Drive Electric Month, which runs mid-September through mid-October, we thought we'd shine a light on a specific area of expertise that some people may not be aware that Berkeley Electric offers. Expertise on electric vehicles, or EVs for short. EVs have grown in popularity in the past decade or so, and more people are making the switch, including some of Berkeley Electric's members. But there's still a lot of uncertainty for a lot of folks, but Berkeley Electric has a great way to help kind of clear up some uncertainty. Eddie, tell us about the Choose EV site and what kinds of information members can find on that.
Okay, our Choose EV site is a very good education tool where you can go in and look at comparing vehicles, like if you were looking at a gas vehicle versus an option for a total electric. What are your savings? I mean, how far do you drive? You can certainly, as we mentioned, use our time of day rate, which is much lower off-peak. About 40-50% almost lower price, for charging off-peak versus our standard electricity rate. But, what are your savings? The more miles you drive, the more savings you'll have per month, and the savings of fuel cost. And it's got all kind of information on there about it. We'll talk about the rebates on cars and which cars qualify. You can find that quickly on our website.
Information about chargers as well?
Chargers, the location of fast chargers, and then also through our website, you have information about Berkeley Electric Cooperative's on-bill financing for home level 2 chargers also. So we'd be glad to help members with that.
Does it explain the difference in types of chargers?
Yes, I
Okay.
mean the information's on there. Yeah, the level 3 is your fast charge, public charging that you plug in and try to charge your car. Typically 30 minutes to an hour charge, so you can get on your way. But at home, the level 2 charger typically is in the normal cars around 11 kilowatt-hour charge per hour, so 3 or 4 hours and you're charged. Just plug it in and charge at night. So
Yeah.
I was about to
you
say,
wake up in the morning and your
It's-
car's fully fueled. You don't have to worry about stopping on the way to get on the way to work. Oh no,
I don't.
I'm sure Micah's probably had range anxiety on his gas vehicle with 20 miles left, and you got to go to the gas station before you go to work.
it's happened before, yes.
But how many miles do you live from the co-op?
Not too many. Talking about the chargers, though, I mean, in the wild, you're most likely to find level 2 chargers for like public charging. I mean, are level 3 becoming more common? Because those have a steeper power requirement. So I don't think they're not exactly as prevalent as, say, somewhere that you're finding like at a local business like Berkeley Electric. We offer public charging at several of our locations. I know several gas stations just in town. So you're going to find like the level 3 of those probably going to be the ones like along the big gas stations at the interstate, where you're going to find like the whole bank of them lined up for people to charge.
Right. Yeah. And there's interest from our members, and Tim and I, can talk about different sites that are looking at adding the level 3 fast chargers for the transient or somebody that's renting or doesn't have access to charging at their home. They can use the level 3 charger and get a quick charge and move on their way.
Right.
Trip, so.
How quick is quick? So say you're driving a distance and you need to get a charge. How fast can you
You're
get
down
charged
to your
back
last kilowatt.
It really depends on the fast charger
up? Right.
model and what it's capable of producing, putting into your car.
So level 2 might take.
Level 2 might take you 5 or 6 hours
From empty.
empty.
Yeah.
Whereas a DC fast charge could take, an hour or maybe a little less than an hour, up to 3 hours. And it just depends on how much energy you have left in your battery and how fast that charger is, because they come in different kW ratings. So some of them are 50 kW and some of them are 300 kW. So they're capable of putting more energy quicker into your car.
So what's the average range for cars these days for EVs?
Looking on our Choose EV site, typically they're ranging from 225 miles for a fully charged vehicle out to about 325.
Okay.
And there's a few outliers, but that's generally the range. So the sweet spot, is somewhere halfway in between that. 275 miles is about a typical median, for the vehicle. So.
Yeah.
And it's been a few years
and
since.
you can charge, like we're talking about charging it up, you can put in about 150 to 200 miles and 30 minutes to an hour on the fast charger,
Right.
depending on how your car can accept that power, as Tim mentioned.
Yeah. And I mean, once again, all those things sort of, in terms of like how far you can go, it's all dependent on whether or not you're running your air conditioner or your heat and how fast you're going and all that kind of good stuff. And, we talk about you were talking about the different capabilities of the electric chargers. Actually, the same way with like a regular gas pump. I mean, I know I've pulled up to some gas pumps and you put it in there and, boom, that gas is just a flowing. You go up to other ones, it's like, dear Lord, how long do I have to wait for this thing to fill up? So, I mean, not every pump or every charger is created equally. You got to.
I'm hearing some Micah wisdom over there, his experience with electric vehicles and our Leaf, because Berkeley Electric Cooperative back in 2012,
Yes.
we got a 2012 model.
One of the first full production electric vehicles of the new age was the Nissan Leaf, and we had it because we were trying to figure out how, as an electric cooperative, as an electric utility, we have to understand the loads that go onto our
Mm-hmm.
system. So since this is a new technology, we were getting that so we could test and see if we've got a whole bunch of people who have electric vehicles and they're charging them. What does the charging curve look like? How much energy does it pull? Is it a nice slow, bell curve, or does it pull it in fits and starts? Because that all depends on how we need to build our system for when we have more electric vehicles that are out there in the wild. So yeah, I did get the privilege of driving the Leaf. Didn't have much range. It was one of the first ones. Started off at 100, was on paper.
On paper.
On paper it was 100. Probably realistically is a little bit more than, somewhere around 60 miles. But I mean, at the end of the day, most people don't drive more than 50 miles in the average day. I mean, when you look at overall, your average driver. And so a 60, 50 mile range is perfectly fine for a daily driver for most folks. Yeah. But yeah, the range anxiety is real. Not so much anymore, but back in the day, I'd have to plan out my route. I'd be on Google Maps. All right, how far is it from point A to point B to point C, and can I make it back to the co-op all on one charge?
It's a game.
Yeah.
But one thing that we did with the Nissan Leaf, after getting all this good data to help guide some decision making, was we partnered with area high schools that had driver's ed programs at the time, and loaned the car to the schools for the students to learn how to drive an EV, or to at least just have some experience with it. And unfortunately, we had to phase that program out, partially because of COVID, but partially because a lot of the public high schools don't have driver's ed programs anymore, which seems like a shame. But I get stressors on schools and whatnot. But that's I learned in my public school. One of the coaches taught us. It was awesome.
Back when they had stick shifts and crank down windows.
That's right.
Well, I'm not that old.
All right, so I had
Micah, you dated yourself.
I had stick shift and crank down windows. Okay.
Yeah, I do not know how to drive a standard, so Lord help me if I ever have to. But
well, I mean, education's always a big thing here at the co-op with schools and with our members. And education learning is more about learning more about the new technology. Is at the heart of what we do, and trying to help our members understand and take advantage of it. But it's not just residential members that we're here to help. Tim, tell us a little bit about the consulting services that we provide for our commercial accounts and some of the people who we've recently helped.
So, as with our members, our residential members, we will, talk with our commercial accounts who might be interested in putting in fast charging facilities at their location. We'll look at power requirements, what they are actually trying to accomplish, what their goals are, how much energy they're going to need, what's available close by. We may help them with location services. We may also, bore power cables to the location of the charger. We would charge for that, but we can provide that. Some of the members that we've provided services for have been McElveen over in Somerville. They wanted to put in a fast charge so they could do the all EV Hummers.
Right. Yep.
Then Berkeley Ford called us, and we engaged with them and helped them figure out where to locate it. We had a contractor come in and give them pricing for all the infrastructure that they would have to install. And ultimately, they decided to go with a different DC fast charge, but they did install one, and they've got a couple of level 2s as well. In addition, because they didn't have any charging facilities inside of their bays, they installed a couple of power points in their bays, and they have a mobile charger they can roll around and work on EVs in several locations.
nice.
There's some construction going on. I'm not sure if it's there yet or not at the refuel at Camp Hall that Sandy Cooper's doing. We've been partnering with Tesla to help them locate a DC fast charger bank over in Somerville at the Cracker Barrel in their parking lot. And of course, Chick-fil-A in Somerville is also working to put in a couple of chargers at their location. In addition to the commercial aspect of it, we also have partnered with several municipalities and counties to help with infrastructure in their locations. And some of those have been Goose Creek, which was our first, the city of Goose Creek. We've also done some work with Kiowa, Seabrook, and we've got Charleston County on the books for this year.
And all of these chargers, I would assume, are on the Choose EV website showing charger locations.
Well, they'll be in the national,
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
Get registered from that standpoint.
Yeah,
But,
Plug
these are
Share is
level-
a good one.
Okay.
There are several apps that you can use, but our chargers here at Berkeley are on the Plug Share app.
Okay. Great.
And they're level 2 chargers, each one of these, similar to us at Berkeley Electric Cooperatives, Johns Island and headquarters office.
Yep, and I took advantage of that one in Goose Creek when I was driving the Leaf one day. Yeah, we had the old rings anxiety and wasn't sure I was going to make it back to the office, so I stopped there for my lunch hour and plugged in and had just enough to coast back into the garage and and hook it back up. But I mean, like we're talking some of these, like we said, refuel at Camp Hall. Those were, like I was saying, the bigger ones that are located along the interstate for infrastructure wise. I'm assuming that's where they have the larger banks of things. I know back in the day, it's been, like I said, it's been a hot minute since I've actually driven an EV, but like the Leaf used to have on onboard location, it would show a map that would show you area, like chargers in the area. I'm sure it had to be on that particular network, but it would show you all the available chargers that were in there. But I think like some of like the Plug Share stuff shows you not only available chargers, but whether or not they're in use. So
if they're working or not.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, because a lot of times
That's
you can
helpful.
say, okay, yeah, there's a charger there, and you pull up, and all the little heads are in use. Well, that doesn't do you a whole lot of good.
Sure.
And then you've got to have time, and in a lot of these cases, like say if it's a level 2, you got to have more than just an hour or so if you want to get a decent amount of charge. So I guess that's why they're at places like Cracker Barrel where you can, peruse the old country store, look at some gewgaws, and then go
Get
have
some
your
biscuits.
go have some biscuits and gravy and have enough time for your car to charge up before you head on down the road as your summer road trip continues.
So in the case of the Cracker Barrel one, it's going to be a level 3 DC fast charge.
Okay.
So it's going to be
Get your biscuits fast.
Yeah.
you can get in and out and have a full charge at the same time.
Nice.
You won't even have time to enjoy the rocking chairs outside.
That's right.
Well, I guess you still could.
You still could.
Yeah. As your
Chill.
car charges away. Yeah, we won't talk about Cracker Barrel too much. They were in the news recently for some interesting
Branding
reasons,
efforts,
some
yeah.
branding efforts, but that's not us, folks. We're
Yeah,
just
we're
they
there.
not
don't mess with the
changing BC
pancakes.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they don't mess with the pancakes.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the meatloaf personally, but folks, we're not talking just meatloaf and pancakes here at Berkeley Electric. We're actually talking with Mr. Eddie Plowden and Mr. Tim Swicord about all things EV and what's going on with electric vehicles in the world today. They've been around for a while. If you're listening on the first half of the show, we were talking about our efforts that started way back in 2012. That went all the way up through COVID before we moved out of the EV world. But things have been changing in terms of EVs. They've gotten a lot more capable. Range anxiety is still a thing, but not as much of a thing when you can go 200 to 300 miles on a single charge. I mean, we can drive up to Columbia on that easily.
Yeah.
So that's a good little road trip for the day. And, you find a fast charger and make the whole trip in one day without having to, really do too much different with your driving lifestyle as compared to what you would with a gas. But one of the things I think also, we talk about is these things, they're kind of expensive. You've got, chargers. I mean, you got to buy chargers. You got to buy the car. I mean,
It's definitely a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Eddie, the federal government has since 2012, incentivize people buying electric vehicles. So a couple of questions for you. We talk about, on one hand, the need for more generation, so more electricity, wholesale power in the state of South Carolina, and beyond, really. I mean, nationally, we could use more wholesale power. But so why would we promote the electrification of cars if we already need more power? What's the thought behind that?
Well, I mean, certainly we encourage it in a number of different ways. We talked about the savings. The member, can actually save on gas versus electric. So it's a good savings from that standpoint. Environmentally, point of use is much more, cleaner instead of the vehicle itself. But the cars themselves can be, fun to drive, also from that standpoint. So,
But what kind of
go ahead.
what kind of load does an EV add to our system?
That's why we encourage off-peak. And then, Tim works a lot with the time of day rate. And we have a lot of capacity at night, in the middle of the night. So if you can charge this at night, then, that's good. And of course, our programs we have for the water heater load control program, our smart thermostat program, each of these are taking advantages of plenty of capacity at the nighttime or off-peak. And that's what we encourage about electric vehicles also. And we give a lower price of power during the off-peak hours also for the vehicles.
So it adds about the equivalent of a large appliance
Yes.
to a home's load.
Similar to like electric resistive strip heat, or if you had a electric furnace for heating your home.
And it's a little bigger than a
very
dryer.
Similar.
Okay.
Yeah. Double a dryer.
So, but we can incentivize with this time of day rate that people use to charge their cars when power is more plentiful during off-peak times.
Yes, I mean, you can use their standard rate, but what we have done with the study, and we actually did it with OptiWatt. There's a very good app that the co-op support for OptiWatt. And we did a study with them to look at when people typically charge, and they typically do charge not during our peak hours. They charge off peak in the evenings, or just not during our most critical power need times.
Yeah. So in the South, peak times during the summer are 3 to 6 p.m.
Yes.
And then in the winter, during the coldest
about
times,
6 to 9
Yeah.
a.m. So yep. And so typically, members are coming home from work, and they arrive, and they'll be plugging that in the evenings, especially in the summertime when they're arriving like at dark at home. Then they'll plug in after our peak hours.
Yeah.
And overnight they charge, and so by 6 a.m. they're fully charged.
Yeah. So we're good.
Full tank. Wake up.
Full tank.
Yep.
Just real quick, I mean, guesstimate from like say empty. If we're talking, how much would it cost to fill up the tank? Do we have any? I mean, because I think back in the day, I think it was like $4 or something like that, maybe to charge. If you're charging off peak overnight to get a full tank of gas, was somewhere in the $4 to $5 range. Like I said, that was a while ago, so I'm not sure 100% what the current numbers are. But I mean, like you said, in terms of savings, you think about that. I mean, all right, I fill up for $5 and I can drive 200 miles. That's a relative, that's pretty good savings when you're talking about that, as to, we're talking we're somewhere in the $2.50 a gallon for your gas powered vehicles.
Well, like 100 kilowatt hours of power put in a car, which would be typically about 300 miles of range. If it's an SUV, it'll be a little bit less than that. You're talking about like $12.62
For a fill up.
Versus a fill up, it'd be a lot.
$40.
Normally about 4 or 5 times that.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the $70+
$4 or $5
with my
that,
truck.
yeah.
Is $70 to some odd $80 to fill it up. So
You have a gas guzzler.
I do. I have a large vehicle to pull my camper a couple times a year. So
300 miles for $12.60, or you can do it all peak for basically $8.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
But generally, the cost of ownership for an electric vehicle is less than a gasoline powered on a variety of levels, not just the refilling, but a variety of components that make EVs.
I mean, like
more
the oil
cost-effective.
changes, and a lot of belts and transmission, those type things are eliminated.
There's fewer moving parts.
No stick shift. You don't have to worry about doing a stick
Yeah,
shift. In
yeah,
electric. You just
I'm
push
set.
the pedal and it goes.
But if you're, one of those folks that likes to keep their car for 10 years,
Yeah.
you're probably looking at a battery exchange.
Right.
Which means that, you basically pay for the car twice with the battery exchange.
Yeah, the drivetrain battery is definitely the largest portion of the vehicle in terms of the
We have
overall
experience
cost.
with that with the Leaf as
We do.
well.
And we've been through the whole life cycle of the electric
Yeah.
vehicles. So
So, Eddie, what's changing as far as federal incentives for 2026?
Currently, the $7,500 credit for lower cost vehicles is going to be expiring federally September 30th of this year. And then, I'm not sure if that will change, but that's where it is right now. So a lot of vehicles do qualify for that, but that will be, a pause on it. I'd say more of a pause because things, federally can start and stop. So we don't know. But this date, that's where we are on it. But vehicles are typically they're doing more models that are longer range and then, lower cost or competitive with the gas, powered vehicles. Also, pretty excited about the the plug-in hybrids. Give you super long range, but also much more efficiency, from that standpoint.
And you like your hybrid truck?
Yep, I have it's a gas-powered F-150, Ford, but it's also got a battery in it. So it gets, 23 miles to the gallon, both city and also on the road. So it's
Micah, what's your truck get?
We're not going to talk about that.
But your truck also has perhaps even more important use that out of 4 or 5 months out of the year.
This is football season. We're going to talk tailgating here. I see the lead into that one. It is fantastic because you can actually plug in during tailgate and it'll only charge up about twice an hour for a couple of minutes just to charge a battery, and you can run your tailgating TV and crock pot and lights after hours. Of course, we use the rechargeable lights now for tailgating, so everything is going battery in our homes and weed eaters and power tools and everything.
Lawnmowers, lawnmowers,
And we got to put a plug in for. Currently, we're running safety ads on batteries, plug-ins, and making sure those cords are right and
be safe.
How to safely charge those batteries. Yep.
But Libby, another incentive that will be expiring is the home EV charger tax credit. It was originally supposed to run till 2032. It will expire in June 30th, 2026. So folks still have about a year, maybe 9 months to install a charger. And that tax credit is, I think it's 30% of the total cost up to $1,000.
Okay.
Well, when it comes to the chargers, though, it's BEC to the rescue in a way, though, because we've expanded our on-bill financing program to include residential electric vehicle chargers, have we not?
We have. Very excited about that. We started that in December. It took us, a few months to put it together, but we'll loan a member up to $10,000 for 5 years with on-bill financing at 5% fixed interest, and that's cheaper than a mortgage, and and it'll be right there on your bill, so it's not another payment you have to make. It's just part of your power bill. We have a couple of really good installers that are licensed and bonded to do work in our area, and they'll come and give you a quote. And if you accept the quote, you apply for the loan. You get processed as long as you qualify for the loan.
Credit check.
From a credit check perspective, they'll come out and install it, and we'll do the paperwork and make sure that you're happy with it before we write the check to the installer.
What are home chargers running these days?
So we've done 4,
Okay.
And all 4 of them have been between $1,600 and $1,700.
Oh, okay.
Those were all what they call basic installations, so they didn't have to pull a lot of extra cables. The charger was very closely located in proximity to the meter and or the breaker box. So as long as you're don't have anything real fancy or whatever, it's going to be under $2,000, and that includes the price of the charger.
My niece several years back bought an EV Ford Mustang, and she just runs an extension cord to hers.
And she's trickle charging it, which means she's maybe getting 10 or 15 miles a day on it.
Yeah, charge it all night, every night.
Yeah, that's sort of an every other day driver, not a daily driver. If you're trickle charging like that.
Yeah, I mean she's in her 20s, so teach its own.
Well, like we said, though.
But what's beautiful about it is we talked about that time of day rate. You can actually program your car, so you come in the evening, you plug your car in, but you program the car to start charging after the peak, which is 6 o'clock. So they can start charging at 6 p.m. And they never really have to touch it again because In the winter, the peak is in the morning, but they can still charge at the same time. And typically what happens is there's a surge. First hour is pretty high, and as the battery heats up, the charge slows down, and typically most people only need to charge it about 3 to 4 hours anyway.
Gotcha.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for today. But for more information about all EV things EV, I can get it out there in a second. You can always go to our website at berkeley.electric.coop. So thanks for tuning in to Power Talk. This is the official broadcast of your electric cooperative, and you can catch up on past episodes on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. And as always, get a behind-the-scenes look on Berkeley Electric's YouTube channel. So until next time, this is Power Talk, signing off.